The following is a quote by William Shakespeare, by Directions, find directions out. A big part of intention setting is coming to know how to proceed even when we are still in a state of unknowing. This is something I call faith stepping, and it involves living through moments and then taking time to reflect on how we felt about what we have just lived through. During that time of reflection, we might consider whether it is something we want more of or not and what we would tweak next time around. By knowing ourselves and being honest with ourselves, we find inspiration that allows us to set up pathways that have the potential of bringing us contentment and bliss. Also, when we stumble upon some brief states of bliss, we honor ourselves well to gratefully take note and investigate whether that is an experience or feeling we want to have again in the future. Since it's a game of experimentation, it often involves trusting that our actions toward our dream goals will allow us to feel blessed. Some days we might be able to only grasp or understand some of the key ingredients that we feel constitute well-being. Other days we might know exactly what we need to do from start to finish to construct bliss experientially. Yet, just knowing that it is a discernment process helps us to narrow down our vision and actively choose our experiences so that we can focus on forming the most beautiful life quest. It is often the gradients and gray areas in between that create the most joy, allowing us to stumble upon blessings unexpectedly. For me personally, when I began the process of setting life intentions, my dream components were very broad. When I first met with the shaman on a regular basis, I told him I found myself in a holding pattern of poverty, anxiety, depression and ill health, and I wanted to break these painful habits I seemed to be manifesting. Because I was struggling with forming my life intention and then stepping into it faithfully, I knew without a doubt what he was going to ask each time I came to see him in his office: what I wanted from life, what I hoped to experience, and how I hoped to see my life unfolding, including the broad and minute details. He continually asked me if I produced a deeper and more comprehensive list of the aspects of my dream day. It wasn't that he was pressuring me, he simply wanted me to begin considering and building upon the things that were most important to me and to come to understand what mattered most to me. When I shyly and tentatively shared my broad list of ideals with him, it read something like this: freedom, comfort, peace, well-being and love. Yet he kept urging me to make further refinements of this intention statement and to step into the life I wanted with growing trust and faith. He saw that if I understood the deeper components that defined my life dream, and I came to understand the things that constituted the beauty way for me, I sensed he was right. But I realized back that I felt afraid of what I would find if I delved further in. Sometimes I will admit that I feared investigating my dreams further or delving deeper. I felt I might rock the boat of safety that I was so desperately clinging to if I reached for more when I wasn't even sure I could keep what I was already juggling. I found myself struggling with wanting to hold on to the things I had and hoping that the answers would fall neatly into my lap without all of the arduous soul search. I could tell during our talks that he had come down a long spiritual journey himself, and I felt reassured in knowing that he had found a way through. He admitted though that he did have mentors and guides as well who helped him to realize his own spirituality clarity, and that this desire to clarify my own path was not madness. He encouraged me to seek answers outside of myself that I could draw within. I think because he shared how he continued to persevere down a challenging path of self-reckoning, it prompted me to do the same despite my frustration. Each week, surrounded by Native American healing iconography, hand drums, books and plants in his counseling center office, he asked me to refine my vision so that I could see the more minuscule aspects of what constituted an ideal day forming and shaping for me. At the time it was stressful for me because I sensed I was only inching along in this inner work, but now looking back I realize that for me it was meant to be a slow and simmering process. Truly, I was the only one rushing things. It refreshed my spirit when I came to learn it didn't have to force or urge things to happen quickly. It was refreshing for me to realize that we can take all the time we need when doing this inner work, and it is only we who need to honor ourselves in understanding the flexibility of time and space, our desires and our dreams, our hopes and our wishes, and all of the things that honor our being. Basically, I came to understand and realize that everything I needed to know to form and shape a definition of the beauty way unfurling all around me. This is one thing about the spiritual journeys: the universe expands upon the available resources of time, space, empathy and understanding to give us the precious leeway we need to be sure of our pathways. In the weeks and months thereafter, I went back and forth bringing home my imminent anxieties, woes and fears, but also graciously thinking about and imagining the important aspects that defined my future life dreams. Because I found time outdoors soothing, I spent some of my soul-searching time sitting by the seashore writing out or sketching images of the detailed view of this dream. Bit by bit small aspects of my dream life were graciously assembling. I will admit though that the degree of discernment I used to ponder the course of my dream life may have seemed by somewhat overly minute to me, because I had always fallen into and through life without hampering things too much with over-planning, unless I faced unnecessary anxiety. Yet, it seemed important enough for me to form and shape a more concrete definition, although I still found solace and peace in the relative simplicity of allowing the open script to play out as well without defining everything. Yet, I wanted to try and to refine the aspects of my existence for the sake of at least trying to understand the pathways that were being lent to me to consider. I began by simply trying to look at exactly how I would like my morning to unfold and how I would like to greet the sun. I imagined the perfect dream breakfast, down to the toast and tea. I tried to use my emotions and senses and imagination to construct how each moment would look if I had stepped into the ultimate life of my dreams. I was not necessarily encouraged to ruminate without acting through living though, and I came to realize that imagining was only a part of the process. This state of imagination allowed me to fill in the gaps and spaces in between the life I wanted and the life I already possessed. Much of the time I was instead encouraged to live life moment by moment, experiencing with gratitude what I already had and appreciated, and further tweaking my future wish list. It was not an act of chastising myself for failing to produce the life of my dreams or dwelling in misery when things did not seem to go my way, but rather acknowledging and appreciating the clarity and insights that the not-so-good moments offered me. I also came to appreciate and acknowledge what I learned I did enjoy when blessings arrived. Through actively and mindfully living through experiences and spending time in dreamy introspection, I capably captured, appreciated and understood it when happiness arrived, and I came to intimately know the things I would like to see persist or prevail. Then, because I am an academically minded person, I retested the good experiences and redefined my life dream based on the assessments. I realized intention setting was a living process of cyclically redefining those boundaries of bliss based on new experiences, inspirations and dreamy intuition. I also realized that the broad level of my list of desires were only a part of what constituted a quality life day to day. Sure, things like comfort, peace, self-expression, joy, freedom, family connection, self-awareness, financial abundance, sense of humor, held meaning and purpose for me. Yet, I began to see that without definition, the dream had no form and could not be acted upon. Therefore, without a plan I was not able to form a life that was meaningful to me. I recognized that each of the components needed to be broken down further, and I needed to start asking myself questions like the following. What did I mean when I said I desired comfort, for example? What did peace mean to me in life? How could I best express myself? What did freedom constitute in my life experience? What defined positive family connections? How did I know if I was self-aware? What defined humor, meaning and purpose? I began to realize that the magic is in the details, and the more specific I was about what I wanted, the better able I was to act upon those desires. The opportunity to clarify first then activate changes brought about multifold blessing for me. The idea was having an expansively clear idea and living into each moment to come to understand my heart, my desires and my truth. Sometimes this process involves a willingness to live through the experiences we've set up for ourselves with this alert graciousness, gradually identifying ways that our lives could improve along the way with faith that we can elevate our experiences through these ever-evolving refinements.